What if I told you there's a bullet that can fly forever? Yes, I said forever. Think about it. A projectile, once fired, traveling endlessly, never succumbing to gravity, friction, or anything else that would slow it down. Sound like pure science fiction, right? Well, let me tell you, it's not as crazy as it seems. Buckle in, because today we're diving into one of the most mind-bending concepts in firearms technology. This is the story of the bullet that could theoretically keep flying until the end of time. And it's all grounded, pun intended, in real science and human ingenuity. Let's get started. To understand how this works, we need to first break down the challenges of getting something to fly forever. Typically, a bullet loses energy and slows down due to air resistance and gravity. These forces are relentless. They're what keep the laws of physics firmly rooted in our everyday experience. But what if we found a way around them? How do we defy nature's immutable rules? Okay, we're not talking about magic here. We're talking about science and a visionary concept called space-based bullets. That's right, bullets that are launched, not fired, in the vacuum of outer space. And the key word here is vacuum. In space, there is no air to create drag. There's also no gravity, at least not like what we experience on Earth, to pull the bullet down. In this unique environment, an object in motion truly does stay in motion. Fire a bullet in space, and theoretically, it could just keep going and going and going forever. But how would this work, practically speaking? Let's explore that. To even get a bullet into space, you need a completely different method of propulsion. Modern firearms rely on an explosive powder and the controlled detonation of that powder to send projectiles flying. But in space, the lack of atmosphere means traditional gunpowder wouldn't ignite. So, what's the solution? Rocket propulsion. Imagine a bullet that's more like a miniature guided missile. Once launched, tiny thrusters within the projectile adjust its trajectory and maintain its kinetic momentum. This idea isn't entirely new. Scientists have been exploring similar ideas for things like spacecraft and military technology for decades. However, here's where it gets even more fascinating. Once in orbit, such a bullet could actually become part of what physicists call a sympathetic orbit, meaning it could circle a planet or even the sun indefinitely. The bullet becomes its own tiny satellite, a kinetic weapon suspended in an endless cosmic ballet. This concept has even inspired real-world military discussions. Systems like kinetic bombardment weapons, famously dubbed as rods from God, work on this principle. Instead of explosive charges, they rely solely on the massive energy released when a hypervelocity object collides with its target. But unlike these weapons, our hypothetical bullet doesn't need to come down. It's essentially a permanent fixture in space. Imagine shooting a bullet on a Moon or Mars mission. Once freed from earthly boundaries, its trajectory could theoretically never end unless acted upon by some external force, like colliding with space debris or entering the orbit of another celestial body. This endless motion isn't limited to bullets, by the way. Scientists have long hypothesized about creating space rails, or systems that use magnetic forces to send objects into perpetual orbits. Our bullet fits right into that kind of futuristic imagination. So, are there any immediate practical applications for a bullet that flies forever? In the realm of fiction, absolutely, it's the stuff sci-fi dreams are made of. Think about robotic space probes armed with these bullets for defense, capable of targeting objects light years away without losing momentum. Or even developing tools to study astronomical bodies by launching projectiles that collect samples and send data back to Earth. The potential, despite sounding far-fetched, is limitless. But stay with me here. There's more. Let's bring it back to Earth for a moment. You might think, why should I care about a space bullet? Well, innovations in firearms and projectiles don't just stay confined to their initial purpose. The research into creating more efficient projectiles often spills over into other industries. For example, miniaturized thrusters developed for hypothetical space bullets could be used in everything from drone technology to precision agriculture tools. The military applications alone could revolutionize how nations defend themselves, wage war, or even promote peace. And then there's the philosophical impact of such technology. Humanity's understanding of firearms has always been rooted in the limitations of our atmosphere and gravity. The concept of a bullet that flies forever challenges our perception of what's possible. It questions the very boundaries of technology and physics as we know them. Imagine a future where soldiers are trained not only in the use of earth-bound weapons, but in handling space-based technologies that could rewrite the rules of engagement. Now, of course, there are ethical considerations, and they're big ones. A space bullet raises concerns about weaponizing space. Does the idea of a forever flying bullet mean the start of a futuristic arms race? Could it leave permanent floating hazards in the otherwise pristine vacuum of space? These are serious questions, ones that require humanity to tread very carefully as this kind of technology is explored. After all, a bullet flying endlessly might sound cool, but it becomes a lot less appealing if it's floating around as a cosmic accident waiting to happen. Let's take a step back to Marvel one last time. The idea that a simple bullet could become an immortal traveler challenges our very understanding of motion, science, and the limitations we've accepted for centuries. Fired in the vacuum of space, a bullet behaves very differently from its earthly counterpart. The lack of air, drag, and traditional forces turn that small piece of metal into something much grander, a near-eternal traveler of the stars. And that's what makes this idea so utterly mind-blowing. It's an intersection of everyday weaponry and the vast, limitless frontier of space exploration, a combination of the practical and the unimaginable. So the next time you think about firearms, remember this: they're not just tools. They can also be portals to ideas and innovations that push the very bounds of human creativity and understanding. Is a forever flying bullet practical today? Not yet. Is it possible? Unbelievably, yes. And that, more than anything, proves that we are only scratching the surface when it comes to what firearms and humanity can achieve. So, keep your eyes on the stars. Who knows? The next bullet might be aimed not at a target, but toward the infinite possibilities of the universe itself. You don't want to miss what's coming next in our firearm series, so hit that like button and subscribe for more mind-bending explorations of weapon technology and beyond. Until next time, stay curious and stay informed.